Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 3 of Tour of the Basque Country. 181 kilometers, and it's going to be a really typical Tour of the Basque Country stage, which I mean it's going to be hilly, it's going to be incredibly narrow roads, twisty roads, so it's always important on a stage like this to be near the front throughout the finish of today's stage. Now with 70 kilometers to go is when the cameras come on. Announcers have told me that the beginning of the stage for the first hour was really aggressive, but at 70 kilometers to go, there's 3 riders in the front. It's my old teammate, Jan Polanc, UAE Team Emirates, and then Total Energy's Christian Rodriguez is up there, followed by the Canadian Hugo Ull from Israel Premier Tech. These 3 riders are a threat on general classification. When you look at their time gaps, it's 33 seconds to Jan Polanc, who's a pretty decent climber. I was teammates with him back in the day with Lamprey. He's not a fantastic top-notch climber, but he's solid in the climbs. Now, when we look at Christian Rodriguez, though, from Total Energies, we've seen him earlier in the season at the smaller Spanish stage races where he was riding exceptionally well and placing himself, I believe, on the podium during the Ruta del Sol, if I remember it correctly. Hugo Ull, the Canadian, not really much of a climber, but with Christian's time gap being just under a minute on the general classification, this is a big threat here to Jumbo-Visma. They can't afford to give him a whole lot of time. Can you afford to give the stage race victory away? Of course, but do you want to give him 2, 3, 4 minutes on a general classification in a one week stage race? No, you don't want to give a rider like Christian Rodriguez that much time. So when the cameras fade back to the peloton and we see Geraint Thomas on the front from Ineos with his whole squad behind him drilling it when the climb starts, I don't understand this tactic at all. Now, positioning to get into these climbs at the Basque Country, sure, but there's no reason that I see why Ineos should be on the front doing the work for Jumbo-Visma. We all know the quality rider of Primoz Roglic. He is up there as one of the best riders in the world, right up there with Tadej Pogacar, so there's no reason to be pulling a team like Jumbo-Visma from 70 kilometers. Now, I don't even know exactly when he got on the front, but the cameras come on at 70, and it's Geraint Thomas on the front. Let me remind you guys at this point in time, before today's stage started, all of the Ineos riders were within about 40 seconds of race leaders Primoz Roglic's time. So why would you be setting pace on the front of the peloton right now, towing the whole Jumbo-Visma squad around? Now, Geraint Thomas will be spectacular in terms of form, but again, tactic-wise, I think this is incredibly a knucklehead move for the whole Ineos squad. When they get on to the first climbs, Geraint Thomas picks the pace up. He'll start to split the peloton up, and he'll go over the first hard climb on the circuit, 1 kilometer long, 13%. Then he'll continue on the front over the longer climb, bringing the peloton down to small size gaps. Now with 50 kilometers to go, the peloton's going to sit up and start going easy here. And the time gap up to the lone leader now, Christian Rodriguez. He went solo as soon as the cameras turned on, basically. Up the first climb, he was with Jan Polanc, and then up the second climb, Christian Rodriguez had enough, decided to drop Jan Polanc, take the KOM points jersey, and then go over the top solo. With 50 kilometers to go when the peloton sits up, that gap starts to expand big time, and it'll go up to about 4 minutes to the front leader up there of Christian Rodriguez. Now, when the racing returns back to the peloton, again, it's going to be Ineos that's setting the pace at the front with Geraint Thomas. Let me remind you guys, I know I already told you their whole team was high up on general classification, but Geraint Thomas was 4th when today started. When you take out Remy Cavagna out of general classification, Geraint Thomas is 3rd on general classification, under 20 seconds behind Primoz Roglic's time. I'm stressing here, it makes no sense for Ineos to be on the front at this moment, blowing up a rider of quality who's clearly on form. Geraint Thomas is putting on a spectacular show here. So there is no denying that he's got good quality form. And we're on the first mountain stage here at the Basque Country, when just about every stage after today is climbing. And the last stage of Tour of the Basque Country, stage 6, will finish up a summit climb to decide who wins the Basque Country here. So, in my mind, Ineos, this doesn't make any sense when you're blowing up your GC riders. Now, Geraint Thomas will pull all the way to about 26 kilometers to go when the last categorized climb starts on today's race. This climb will summit with about 20 kilometers from the finish, and at about 26 kilometers to go is when we see Geraint Thomas finally pull off. That means he pulled from 70 kilometers at least that I've witnessed from the couch all the way to 26 kilometers to go. The boy has to have fantastic legs. Next up will be Theo Gegenhardt when the climb really starts to hit proper. And Theo Gegenhardt, the Giro winner from a couple years back, is on the front setting a blistering pace until Adam Yates throws an attack. Now this is an impressive attack, but you've used up Geraint Thomas, you've used up Theo Gegenhardt. Now coming out the back with the attack there from Adam Yates, the peloton starts blowing up, and we'll see Sepp Kuss open up the gap. When he does, Primož Roglič is behind Sepp Kuss. This is the way Primož Roglič likes to ride. When you know he has form, he always hangs back a little bit because Jonas Vingegaard was up there on Adam Yates' wheel along with a host of other riders of about 6 or 7 up there when Sepp Kuss opens that gap. Primož Roglič, you know he has form when you watch him close that gap. You can see in the pictures how big the gap was, probably about 5 bike lengths, 6 bike lengths there, and then Primož Roglič rides across it with no problem. When you see that, you know Primož Roglič is on form. He gets up there right away in the front-led peloton there of GC favorites with Adam Yates still riding the front. Now, Adam Yates' plan with Ineos has to be to drill this and try to blow this up. But remember, all they've done so far throughout today's stage is pull number 1, number 2 rider in the world, Primož Roglič. Depending on who's your favorite between Tadej Pogačar and Primož Roglič, you can pick whoever you want. But Primož is pure talent up there. So when they're pulling them all along, now Adam Yates is up there drilling it like crazy. We'll see Danny Martinez from Ineos throw in another tack. Again, it won't dislodge the big favorites in this group as Primož Roglič, Jonas Vingegaard is still there, and a host of other talents like Mas and, of course, Davide Gaudu from FDJ. With that group, once you see Adam Yates start pulling again on the front, I want to show you this other picture because it's 2 Ineos riders back there, Carlos Rodriguez and Ben Toulet. Those 2 riders are pulling on the front when you can see in the picture that it's Adam Yates pulling on the front, and on the wheel of the 2 Ineos riders is Sepp Kuss. Sepp Kuss is not having a fantastic stage here on today's stage 3, but he's staying there with the 2 Ineos riders, and they're pulling him. So when you look at the picture, Adam Yates is at the front wasting energy. Danny Martinez already wasted energies with attack. Now you're looking at the 2 Ineos riders behind that are chasing Adam Yates on the front with a Jumbo-Visma rider, Sepp Kuss, sitting on their wheel. It's crazy when you look at the tactics here again from Ineos. They'll go over this last categorized climb with about 10 guys in front. Few more will get on, and then with about 20 kilometers to go, that group will catch Christian Rodriguez, the sole leader that originally from that break of 3 up the road. That group's about 11, 12 guys strong going down through the valley, and everybody through the valley here is basically working together. And you got to remember, there's 2 Jumbo-Visma guys that are happy to have this group work together. Why not? Primož Roglič has his teammate Jonas Vingegaard, so he'll come through and do some pulls whenever it's appropriate and the group is working well together. Anytime the tacks are happening back there, it's Jonas Vingegaard covering one tack or Primož Roglič covering the other. And then once the group comes back together again, everybody works a little bit and gels well together. We'll see Davide Gaudu here from FDJ. He's got his hand out waving for everyone to start rotating through. And when I'm sitting on the couch, I'm thinking, Davide Gaudu, why do you want everybody here to work well together? There is nothing to gain in this group that's now become about 16 riders to have everybody work well together when you looked at there's 2 quick-step riders, Julian Alaphilippe, 2-time road world champion, and he's got a teammate, Remco Evenepoel there. You look at 2 Jumbo-Visma riders, Primož Roglič and Jonas Vingegaard. That's a magnificent, powerful duo there to be able to win today's stage or, of course, win general classification here at the Basque Country. Couple other teams with 2 numbers. Total Energies have 2 numbers with Christian Rodriguez there and Pierre Latour, the Frenchman. And of course, Ineos have 2 riders there with Adam Yates and Danny Martinez. So, Davide Gaudu, what do you have to gain from here? There's nothing to gain with everybody working well together, and we have a lot of stages left here at the Basque Country. What you want at this moment is total chaos. When I listen to Roche, and he's the commentator here on GCN, he's talking about how when Remco Evenepoel throws in attack and then no one will come through and pull with him, how frustrating it must be, and he can't understand Roche himself can't understand why everybody in this group just doesn't work well together. Well, Roche, there is no reason to work well together in this group if you're a GC guy. You have plenty of mountain stages left to decide general classification, and if everyone works together and you're a rider like Davide Gaudu, there is no benefit to him working in this group. Enric Mas really has no benefit. When you look at Quick-Step, of course, with Julian Alaphilippe there that can win the sprint, with Remco Evenepoel that's capable of riding on general classification, they have reasons. Primoz Roglic has reasons for this group to work smooth together. So rotate up and off, that's it. But every other rider in this group, aside from Quick-Step and Jumbo-Visma, should want total chaos at this moment in the race so that they have a shot of gaining the general classification lead or winning the stage and getting as far away from Jumbo-Visma and Quick-Step as you can. Now, there's one little gem of a climb that I left out when I told you guys to categorize climbs because it wasn't ranked on today's profile. It's 500 meters at about 10%, and it's going to summit with about 4 kilometers to go at today's race. When they hit this climb, it's Pello Bilbao, the Bahrain victorious rider, that throws in a big attack. He's got Jonas Vingegaard on his wheel and Enric Mas there. And then it's Remco Evenepoel Quick-Step that opens the gap. I was very surprised at this because it didn't make a whole lot of sense for the Quick-Step rider to open a gap with a Jumbo-Visma rider of Jonas Vingegaard up in that group of 3. He does, and then we're going to see Julian Alaphilippe fly from the back and close that gap so that they are represented with a Quick-Step rider up front. With Julian Alaphilippe's attack, of course, the rest of the front group of GC favorites here are sparked, and that'll get everybody back together up to Pello Bilbao's wheel. Now, when we go over that final 500-meter climb and we're down in the valley, it's Adam Yates rotating through at the front again. Again, this makes no sense. Adam Yates is not a sprinter. Danny Martinez is not a pure sprinter. So it doesn't make sense to me at this point in time for Ineos to be riding smoothly along with that front group of GC riders. Instead, that's exactly what Adam Yates is looking for. Pello Bilbao will throw in one more other attack to try to get away with about 3 kilometers to go. And then it's Vlasov, the Bora Hansgrohe rider, that's throwing in his attack, trying to get away from all the favorites. With 1.5 kilometers to go, this is when Remco Evenepoel jumps on the front. Now I want to back the film up just a little bit to about between 3 and 4 kilometers to go, when Remco Evenepoel and Julian Alaphilippe there are side by side talking to each other. The translation here is that Alaphilippe wants Remco Evenepoel to take the front into the last virage, the last corner of today's stage. But at 1.5 kilometers, Remco Evenepoel gets on the front. This is a bit from far way out, but I've seen Remco Evenepoel do some amazing pulls on the front. And again, with 1.5, he's on the front, pushing hard on the pedals, and got the front group of around 14, 15 riders there, all strung out single file. With under 1 kilometers to go, about 800 meters, we're going to see Primoz Roglic start to move his way up on the left side to try to get up there to Julian Alaphilippe's wheel. It's not going to happen because Pello Bilbao's locked on the Julian Alaphilippe's wheel. Vlasov is sitting 4th, so it's 2 Quick-Step riders on front, Vlasov 4th, and Primoz Roglic trying to move up to get onto the wheel. Now, with about 400 meters to go, it's Adam Yates has a mechanical, I believe it's a flat tire. At the same point in time, let me point out in this picture on the left, we're starting to see Primoz Roglic move up again because he was a little bit too far back. Now the camera goes here to Adam Yates. When it comes back under the bridge, there's just a brief moment there where you can see Primoz Roglic near Pello Bilbao and Vlasov. At that moment, somebody must have bumped or touched because the next picture when the camera comes on, we're going to see Primoz Roglic and he's in about 7th, 8th position from the Quick-Step-led GC favorites up front. When we come out of the last corner with about 150 meters to go, Remco Evenepoel has delivered his sprinter Julian Alaphilippe to the front, and Alaphilippe launches right then, but there's a small steep bump to the line. When he hits the bump, we see a little slow in pace. Pello Bilbao starts moving up on the side of Julian Alaphilippe with about 75 meters to go. They'll drag race all the way to the line, each rider throwing their bike at the line for the Bahrain victorious Pello Bilbao to take a thrilling victory here on stage 3 over the 2-time world road champion Julian Alaphilippe. Vlasov from Bora Hansgrohe will finish off the podium here in 3rd place. Primoz Roglic won't lose time, but he did not gain time bonuses on today's stage 3. Now, when I dissect today's race, and I split things up and really look at today's events. Who won and who lost? Primoz Roglic started today as general classification leader. He is still general classification leader. Julian Alaphilippe and Quick-Step with Remco Evenepoel, they did a solid ride on today's race, covering attacks and, of course, doing the lead out with a bike throw just costing them the win. A good job, a good showing from Quick-Step on today's stage 3. But when I look at Ineos, when you really dissect Ineos' tactics, their whole team was in the top general classification here of about 40 seconds to Primoz Roglic. And of course, 4 of their riders were in the top 11 on general classification starting today's stage. They rode extremely aggressive, but never tacking wisely and always pulling Jumbo-Visma all the way to the finish of today's stage 3. When you look at the general classification now, they lose Geraint Thomas, who was 3rd on general classification when you take out Remy Cavagna's 3rd place. And they're going to lose Carlos Rodriguez and all their other riders. They have 2 riders now in the top 10 in the form of Danny Martinez and, of course, Adam Yates. So a big disappointing stage here when you look at Ineos and their tactics of chasing a breakaway rider of Christian Rodriguez up the road, who was a threat already on general classification and could have put pressure on Jumbo-Visma back there to chase a bit harder, drop all their guys, and then attack with a host of Ineos riders instead of pulling the Jumbo train all the way to the finish. In my mind, Ineos is the knucklehead here on stage 3 here at the Basque Country. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. But remember, Ineos are not going to have the tactical advantage when we go into these later stages here at the Tour of the Basque Country now that they only have 2 riders left on general classification in the top 10. So make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.